Hello friends, this story it's about an old man that focuses on his business, not people's business. There was once an old farmer who lived at the edge of a quiet village. He had no wife, no children, no family waiting for him at home. Just a small wooden house, a piece of land, and one horse. Every morning before sunrise, he woke up slowly, washed his face with cold water, and stepped outside into the early morning air. The sky would still be dark, and the world would still be quiet. He would walk toward his field with steady steps, holding the rope of his horse. That horse was not just an animal. It was his helper, his strength, his companion. With the horse, he plowed the land. With the horse, he carried crops to the market. With the horse, he survived. The villagers often watched him from a distance. They whispered, they laughed. Look at him, old and alone. He worked his whole life and ended up with nothing. No family, no success, no legacy. But the old farmer never argued. He never tried to defend himself. He simply smiled, and continued his work. At night, after long hours in the field, he would sit beside the stable. He would gently pat the horse's neck and say quietly, "You and me, we are enough." And in his heart, he truly believed it. He did not measure wealth the way others did. He did not measure success by how many people surrounded him. He measured life by something much simpler. Gratitude for what he had today. Then one morning, everything changed. He stepped outside like he always did. But something felt wrong. The stable door was open. The rope was hanging loose. The horse was gone. He stood still for a moment. Then he searched the field. He searched behind the house. He walked down the dirt road calling out. But there was no sign of the horse. Hours passed. Finally, the villagers heard the news. They gathered around his house, shaking their heads. Oh, what terrible luck. That was his only animal. How will he survive now? He truly has nothing left. They expected him to cry. They expected him to panic. But the old farmer looked at them calmly and said only one word. Maybe. The villagers frowned. Maybe. What did he mean maybe? There was nothing uncertain about it. The horse was gone. But the old man went back into his house that evening and slept peacefully. 3 days later, just before sunrise, he heard loud noises outside. Hoofbeats. He slowly stepped outside, and there, standing in front of his house, was his horse. But it was not alone. Behind it were 3 wild horses. The villagers ran over in shock. This is incredible. You are so lucky. Now you are rich. You lost 1 horse and gained 4. The old farmer looked at the horses quietly. Then he said, maybe. Again, the villagers were confused. Why didn't he celebrate? Why didn't he shout with joy? But he simply built a stronger fence. A few days later, he began training one of the wild horses. It was strong and untamed. The animal resisted. Suddenly, it kicked hard. The old farmer was thrown to the ground. He felt a sharp pain in his leg. It was broken. The villagers rushed to him. This is terrible. Such bad luck. You were better off before. Now you cannot even walk. The old man, lying on the ground in pain, looked up at them and said quietly. Maybe. Days passed. His leg was placed in a wooden brace. He could not work. He could not walk without support. Then something unexpected happened. The kingdom announced war. Soldiers rode into the village. They were taking every strong young man to fight. Families cried. Mothers held on to their sons. Fathers begged the soldiers to leave them. But the soldiers did not listen. They took the young men away. When they came to the old farmer's house, they saw his broken leg. They shook their heads. He is useless to us. And they left. Months later, news came back from the battlefield. Many of the young men had died. The village became quiet, heavy with grief. The same people who once laughed at the old farmer now looked at him differently. His broken leg had saved his life. One afternoon, a young boy walked up to him and asked, "Sir, how did you always know everything would turn out fine?" The old farmer smiled. "I didn't." "Then why did you always say maybe?" The old man looked out across his field and said, Because no event is final the moment it happens. When something bad happens, people think it is the end. When something good happens, people think it will last forever. But life keeps moving. What looks like a disaster today may be protection tomorrow. What looks like a blessing today may become a problem tomorrow. If you react too quickly, you suffer twice. So I choose patience. I choose to wait. I choose to keep working. He continued, you cannot control what happens, but you can control how you respond. The boy listened carefully. The old farmer added one last lesson. Peace does not come from having everything. It comes from understanding that everything changes. Years passed. The old farmer grew older. His hair turned white. His movements became slower, but his mind remained calm. The villagers stopped laughing long ago. Now they came to him for advice. They began to understand that he was never poor. He had something they did not have. He had perspective. He had patience. He had emotional strength. He understood that life is not a straight line. It is a series of events that only make sense when you look back. One evening, as the sun was setting, he sat outside his house and whispered to himself, I never lost anything. I only experienced change. And that is the lesson. Not everything that disappears is a loss. Not everything that hurts is harm. Not everything that looks bad is bad. Sometimes life removes something from your hands, so it can place something greater in your future. So when something goes wrong, when you lose a job, when people laugh at you, when plans fail, when something important disappears from your life, do not rush to call it bad luck. Take a breath, stand firm, and say, maybe, because your story is still being written, and the chapter you are in right now is not the final one. Sometimes what feels like the worst moment of your life is the moment that saves you. And sometimes the people who laugh at you today will one day ask you how you stayed so strong. Stay patient, stay calm, keep working, trust the process, and remember, life is not happening to you. It is unfolding for you. Your story is not over yet.